Welcome to the Freedom Broadcasters weekly call. And we've got Chris Ryan from Mind Wars. We've got Steve Ferrero of Awakened Mind, Hartman Schumacher of Go Your Own Path, and Grace with Quantum Nurse. Today, we are honored to have our guest. He's the author of numerous books, including The Biggest Secret and The Answer. I know loads of people that love David. He's woken them up. He's been attacked. Years ago, he went on a show, Terry Wogan's show, and people ridiculed him for that. He's a fantastic father, and it hurted his children because they had to live with that as well. But nobody mentions 15 years later, he went back, and he's a brave man to go back to the corrupt BBC. And on that show, I will read what he said. We've out-sheeped the sheep as humans, keeping each other in line, and we do it by ridicule or condemning anyone who commits the crime. That he is showing what is going on now. David, please welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's funny how you see patterns. One of the things I'm always looking for is patterns, because patterns give you the picture. The dots give you the everything apart from everything else. And, you see patterns through history. And if you look at at every point in history, you'll find the basic foundation of what you just read out, which is that people out-sheep the sheep. Because, people laugh at sheep because they follow the one in front. And what's going on? I mean, I stood there once at the side of a field and I watched this enormous flock of sheep walk down the hill. And there was a guy in front with a stick in his hand, and there was a sheepdog. And the shepherd had no power whatsoever, incredibly symbolic of the dynamic between the public and authority. He had no power whatsoever, except the power the sheep gave him by just following him. And then any sheep that didn't want to do that, they got the sheepdog, symbolic of fear. And if you look at that dynamic, that has allowed the few to control the many throughout known human history. That simple thing. I'll do what authority says. I'll believe what authority tells me. And if I don't want to do that, I am open to being brought back into line through fear. And we are sitting here amid this COVID outrage, actually because of the same dynamic. It's unbelievable. And until that breaks, then humanity will go on being controlled by the few. Because when you look at the numbers, getting on for 8 billion people, and at the core of the core that actually is running global society, you get the core of the core in a single room. It's obvious that that could never happen, purely mathematically, unless the vast many fell for that acquiescence and fear dynamic, which has kept humanity in line all this time.
I know we can go down lots of rabbit holes, but there's one that's because it's something that you said recently. You ran about the Freemasons, because I know a lot of the presidents and a lot of the people that are kind of ruling around the world come from Masonic lodges. And you said you've been to one and you felt they were clueless. I actually felt I'd done the same years ago in Ireland. I was invited to an open, went in there, and I thought I was expecting to be kind of blown away by the knowledge and everything. I said, these guys aren't at the races. And I'm just curious, like, where you went from there.
Well, yeah, I've been in 3 Freemasonic lodges. One down the road from here, in Ryde on the Isle of Wight, where I live, because you know when the Freemasons were getting a bit of stick a few years ago. Some of them started having, I think they've stopped it now because of the COVID thing, but they started having open days so that the public could go along and see how warm and cuddly they were, you know. So I went there with a friend of mine, of course. And another one I went to it was a strange story. I was invited to speak at this, like in those days, it was called New Age, a New Age kind of event. So I turned up at this place and I walked in and I thought, this is bloody strange. There's no bloody windows. And I realized I'm in a Freemasonic lodge. They've hired it out to these people in this conference. So, and I actually, it was hilarious, really, because I did a talk about how secret societies like the Freemasons were involved in this manipulation. And I'm doing it in this big kind of Freemasonic temple thing. It was this big one. And instead of having black and white, the floor as you see it, it was a black and white carpet in this particular one. So anyway, I with some others, I nipped down and had a look around when no one was around, and went into a few of the temples. And the other one was in Boston, Massachusetts, when there was a group of us, small group of us, and we walked in just to see what would happen, and there was nobody there. So we kept walking and kept walking. Nobody bloody there. The only person we met in the whole time was someone doing a bit of building work. So there's a picture of me somewhere. You might see it on the internet, sitting in the chair in the temple. Isn't there nobody there? But the common theme was the energy. The energy was horrible. Actually, not least down the road from here, in this one in Ryde. And absolutely right. I went in, and there's these symbols all over the bloody place, as there always are. And I was asking these people in this open day, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? And they kept telling me, oh, it's lost in antiquity. I thought it's not. They're clueless on the lower levels about what it's really for. And the way it works is clearly secret societies, by their very nature, are compartmentalized. They are broken up into degrees. And you only go into the degree above you if those above you decide that you are worthy of it. And so it's fiercely compartmentalized. And the great majority of Freemasons in the world are on the bottom levels of degree, the bottom three, the so-called blue degrees. And basically, they have no idea what they're part of. They might think, oh, it's a bit of good business, do some business in the lodge. But in terms of the big picture, it's all going on at levels that they know nothing about. And, a long time ago, this is way back in the 90s, I read a book by a Freemason in America. His name was Shaw. And it was like, didn't get wide distribution, but I managed to get a copy. It was very, very interesting. And he was telling the story of how he joined the Freemasons. And was invited to join the Freemasons, and then he started getting promotion at work and stuff, and he was going up and up and up the degrees. And he told the story of how once the guy running the lodge said to him, "You ought to apply for this job," and he said, well, no, I'm not really qualified. He says, oh, no. He said, no, I'll never get it. He said, no, just apply. So he goes along, and there's about 2 or 3 other people, and they're going to put them through a test, like a test to see who should get the job. And he said, I went through this test real fast. He said, and I was out the place. He said, I left them behind, the others. They were still at it. And he got the job. And he said he realized later that he didn't get the same test that they got. So this is how it goes on all the time, where these secret societies get their people in positions of power. And he then told the story that he qualified for the 33rd degree, and living in America. And it's a place I've been to, not inside, but I've been past it and up the steps a few times. It's the supreme headquarters of the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite, and it's just down from the White House in Washington, D.C. And it looks just like a massive Egyptian temple. You know, you got the Sphinx outside and the pillars and all that stuff. And he said he went there because he was going to get his 33rd degree. And he said that there were people there, you know, famous people, former presidents, he didn't name them, but he didn't even realize they were Freemasons. And he said at the end, when they got their 33rd degree kind of bestowed upon them, he said a friend of his came up who just got the 33rd degree and said, I'm going higher. And this guy goes, what do you mean you're going higher? It's only 33 degrees. But there are if you are a chosen one, because what you've got is all these different secret societies, and they feed their elite of the elite